All right, in this chapter, we're going to talk about receiving without a purchase order or receiving without a PO. In our last chapter, we went through the process of how we can tie our special orders to a purchase order, and that purchase order goes to the receiving screen that's then linked up to special order records and PO numbers, and how we could receive that way. And look, not every dealer receives with a PO at all, or in some cases, not every order. Like I said, you might have an order that got sent in by a rep that came in and did a stock check and didn't build a PO, and now you need to get it in your system, and you don't want to build a PO. So how do we do that? Well, we can come over to the receiving screen. When we land here, we don't need to select a vendor. We're simply going to say receive without PO. And we're going to go find our vendor. In this case, I'm going to receive for Western Power Sports. I'm going to enter in an invoice number, and I'm going to say what my part is. Once I do that, it's going to let me set up a bin number if I need any of that type of stuff. And then it's going to ask me how many am I receiving. In this case, I'm going to say 2, and I'll show you why here in a minute. I can decide whether I want to print labels or not. In this case, I'm not. And what I'm going to do is hit save. And in a normal situation, once you finish this process, you'd be done. You would receive those 2 parts into stock. We assign a PO number when you hit save, and your process would be done. But oftentimes, if you have special order parts and you're not using a PO, the question is, well, how do I get those out of my ordering screen, and how can I get those special orders picked up? Because again, if they're not tied to a PO, they're not going to be sitting in the receiving screen. And then again, you lose a bunch of benefits and functionality by not having that process. So what you can do is when you do hit save, in our process, what it's going to do is open it up and tell you, well, hey, you're receiving 2 parts for stock, but you already have one in the receiving screen and you have one in the ordering screen. And the best thing is you have 2 to allocate and you have 2 in stock. Again, maybe you knew that you already had these parts on order, and that's why you didn't place an additional PO in the system, is because you were just going to fill them when they came in. So you can do that. You can click these boxes right here and say fill special order, and then it'll complete the process. And that's really great for, again, for a lot of our dealerships who don't use purchase orders today, don't want to use them in the future, or just has to deal with that oddity when parts do show up in your dealership without a PO. Not a hard process. Let's go through one just to kind of show it. Again, if I'm just receiving parts into stock without an allocating, I can go in here, I can enter my invoice number, I can enter my part in here again. I can say I'm receiving 10, and I can go ahead and hit save. The process will finish, and then I can print out my printout if I need to attach it to my receiving session summary, something like that. Again, you can see in that case, it didn't pop up asking me to allocate it because I didn't have any parts that needed to be allocated. And again, by using that fill special order, we now got the special order record out of the ordering screen. It's been filled, and when I go over to pick up refund, I can come over here and I can also see how that part got received. Again, I can click on a record here. It's going to open it up, and then once the record loads, I can go ahead and highlight the part, and I can see here that the parts have been filled from PO number 13 and the date it was received on. I can go ahead and pick up my parts and complete the process and get credit for this invoice. Because again, if you're not fulfilling these orders, but you're creating them and they're sitting in the pickup refund screen and they're not getting closed out, all your reporting is going to be off. In order to get this cell to report on your end of day or end of month or whatever reporting you're doing, the invoice needs to be completed. Again, so this is a process that I don't think some dealers realize when they're creating purchase orders and they're creating special orders without placing POs. So using this tool is very easy. It's built into the process and allows you the flexibility to decide how you want to receive parts into your dealership with or without a PO, in this case, without a PO.